Hello everybody, how's it going, and welcome back to another video about Assassin's Creed. And people have been asking me to do this for such a long time now, is rate my top Assassin's Creed games. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down through all of them from 8 to number 1, because obviously there's only 8 games, but, you know, not including, like, you know, Liberation, Bloodlines, AC, Discovery, Altair's, Chronicles, all that wank. But, you know, I'm going to go, and we're just going to go through the main titles, so that is AC1 through to Unity, including Rogue. I'm going to count them down from number 8 to my top number 1 AC game, giving you guys reasons and my opinions on each game, and kind of what I thought when they came out, what I think of them now, that kind of thing. So we're going to jump into this to get things started. So at number 8, with my least favourite Assassin's Creed game, is, you guys probably know it, Assassin's Creed Unity. So 2014's Assassin's Creed Unity came out last year. There were some points in the game where I was like, yeah, this isn't bad now. This isn't bad. I'm kind of enjoying little bits of it, like some parts of the story, some parts of the gameplay. But overall, this game has got to be the one that I enjoyed the least. Normally, every single year, I go back and I play every single AC game from the beginning. But Unity has just stumped that because I don't want to have to get to Unity. And I feel like if I've got to play through all of them, then I've got to play through all of them. And Unity really fucked me over. And honestly, I might give it another chance. Now all the patches are out, I might go ahead and play it, but it left such a bad taste in my mouth that I just don't want to go back and play that game. It sickens me. Honestly, I was watching my brother play Dead Kings yesterday, and I was like, no, this game is just, no. I just really don't enjoy it. I know there's a lot of people out there who do enjoy it, same with AC3, but with this game, it's got to be said, it has taken over AC3 as my least favourite Assassin's Creed game to date, and honestly, not just my least favourite Assassin's Creed game, but I would honestly say it is generally a bad game, and I really hope they improve with Victory, because this game really let the series down in my opinion, and it's just one of those ones where you look at a series and you think this series is so good, but then there's that one that always stands out as being bad, and Unity did that with Assassin's Creed series, and yeah, that's my number 8 on the list of top Assassin's Creed games. So let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is the almighty Assassin's Creed 3. So for a lot of people, this is probably their least favourite and will stay as their least favourite over Unity, just because of how bad it is, and just the fact that I guess it's become like a thing to hate Assassin's Creed 3, and I don't hate Assassin's Creed 3. It's just not as good as the other games, which is why it is number 7 and not number 8. But also not higher in the list, because there's a lot of other games that are better than it. Assassin's Creed 3, for me, when it first came out, I was so excited for this game when it got announced, because we just had AC1, and then the Ezio trilogy, and now they were stepping it up with a new engine, new gameplay, new protagonist, new time era. We were looking forward to some kind of new game. This could have been an amazing blockbuster hit. This could have been such a good game, but they completely ballsed it up. They were completely out of their depth. I think what they probably should have done is left it after Revelations until the next generation of consoles came out, and then released Assassin's Creed 3 possibly on the next gen consoles, which would have been a really cool idea. That's my dog barking. But that would have been a really cool idea. But when it came out, it just wasn't what it was led up to be. Like, I mean, the opening was pretty great. Even the prologue, like the introduction, was pretty great with Haytham and everything. And when you played as Connor as a young kid, like, it introduced the story really well. But after that point, the story just got bland and slow, and it didn't really go anywhere in terms of the overall story. I mean, it had Connor's story, which is a lot better than Arno's, it's got to be said. Way more unique, but I don't know. It really wasn't a very great game in terms of story. In terms of gameplay, they definitely changed a lot, and possibly a lot for the better, maybe. But I still preferred the control systems of the previous Assassin's Creed games, but that's just personal preference. But overall, Assassin's Creed 3 will make it number 7 on my list, just because it's still not one of the best Assassin's Creed games. It's also obviously not the worst, but it isn't the best. And that's why it's not higher up on the list, because there's so many other games that just are better than it. The next game on my list is Assassin's Creed 4, which comes in at number 6. Now, the only reason this isn't higher, again, is because there's so many other games that are better than it. But Assassin's Creed 4 for me was the only thing that let it down quite a bit, was the lack of Assassins and Templars story. It was mostly about pirates and about Edward as a character, rather than being, like, kind of getting us involved with the Assassins and Templars. And it was only in the last sequence that Edward became an assassin and decided that he wanted to suddenly kill all of the Templars. And it was just like this really drastic change, whereas it should have been throughout the game. Maybe the first movie sequence, first 2, maybe 3, he was a pirate and he was kind of like not liking it, but then he kind of joined the Assassins, maybe Memory Sequence 4, and then towards over the course of the game, from that point, he started becoming more of a kind of like wiser assassin, knowing kind of what he was doing. He understood the creed and the stuff like that, and I think that would have made it a better game, but like for the AC series anyways. But I mean, just as an overall game, it is a really, really good game. But if you're going to rate us out of Assassin's Creed games, then it's not one of the highest, just because of how the story wasn't quite incorporated into the Assassins versus Templar story. And even the first Civ story, the temple thing, whatever it was, the observatory with the crystal skull, that was really, really weak. I didn't like that at all. The modern day was a lot better than Unity's, obviously. But it still was lacking a lot with just the hacking and stuff like that. It had a lot of mysterious stuff, but I mean, a lot of people didn't want to get into it and stuff like that. I mean, I personally did, and it was kind of cool. I kind of enjoyed it, but it could have definitely done a lot more, and it felt really kind of on its own. Like, it didn't feel like it was part of the series. It just kind of felt like it was there. After having AC 1 through 3, and then suddenly having AC 4, it felt like a separate game. Like, it didn't feel like it was part of the same series, and I think that's something they really need to get back to with Victory, and I just hope they don't do what they did with AC 4 with Victory. But, you know, AC 4 was a really good game overall, and the only reason it obviously doesn't reach a higher one is because there are better games than it. So, let's move on to the next game. At number 5 on the list is Assassin's Creed 1, the first Assassin's Creed game that ever came out. And you're probably like, why isn't this higher? What the hell? Why isn't this higher on the list? But Assassin's Creed 1, for me, the only thing that let it down quite a bit was the repetitiveness of the missions. I mean, honestly, the story behind it, like, if you actually pay attention, you have to pay attention quite closely to understand the story. But the story is really, really good. But for people who are just playing the game, the story does not come across. It literally is just gameplay, and there's like a tiny bit of story, but you don't notice it. And as you really pay attention, kind of look at all these different files on the computers in Obsidian Industries, and kind of just like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that it can be missed quite easily, that makes the game amazing. But the repetitiveness of the missions is one of the things that's quite irritating, and I think if they were to make a next-gen remake, they'd have to make more dynamic missions and more fun missions, because they're really repetitive and boring. Like, you've got like 3 mission types basically, and then, or 4 if you include the informant ones, but like 4 mission types and then the main assassination. It's kind of that over and over and over and over again, and it feels more like an arcade game than it does like a proper like game, if that makes sense. But you know, it's a good game, and I do still like Assassin's Creed 1. But you know, I definitely play it. I play it a lot still. You know, it's a pretty good game. But the only reason it's not higher on the list is because of that repetitive missions, and that's something that kind of brings the game down. There's a lot of things that critics said weren't that great about it. But I mean, when it came out, I absolutely loved the game. It was so much fun. It was something completely new, completely inventive, and Ubisoft did make an amazing game with Assassin's Creed 1, and it left me wanting more, obviously, like with the ending and with all the different cryptic stuff. Like, I'd spend loads of time hacking the computers and stuff, and I just thought that was so interesting, and it was such a cool idea, and I really did enjoy that with Assassin's Creed 1. And like, Altair was one of my favorite characters. It's probably my second favorite character next to Ezio. And Altair was really, really great, and it was great seeing back in Revelations as well. And yeah, AC1 is number 5 on my list. But we'll move on to the next one now. At number 4 on my list of Assassin's Creed games, we have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. So, the only reason I didn't put this game a lot higher is because it's very, very similar to AC2. That's the only thing that I felt kind of held it back, is that it was basically set in the same place, the same character, which is not a bad thing. The same character is good. It's good to, like, kind of, like, evolve the story. But basically everything felt the same. I felt like because they knew how successful AC2 was, they were trying to replicate that with Brotherhood, and it wasn't really necessary. They could have made a new game out of Ezio, which is basically what they did with Revelations. But with Brotherhood, it felt too similar to AC2. Not to say it was a bad game, which is why it's number 4 on the list. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is one of the better Assassin's Creed games. It's so much fun to play. A lot of the things are really good. They carried over everything that worked in AC2, took away everything that didn't work, cleaned it up a little bit, improved the graphics, and then added new cool stuff to the game. And the story was really, really great. How it progressed, that was so great. It's one of the most important games in the story. Is how it starts off at the end of AC2. You get Desmond, like, training to be an assassin. He's got all these skills. He's looking pretty badass. You end up at Monteriggioni in the modern day. Then you go to the Colosseum. You have Juno talk to you, and then the end is like a complete mindfuck. And it is a really, really important game in the story. And Brotherhood did such a good job at continuing how Assassin's Creed went on, and it is a fantastic game. And there's not too much I can really say about it, just because it is so good that, I don't know, it is one of my more kind of favorite Assassin's Creed games, and I think it's a classic, but also it can be played by anyone now. Like, it's a really great game, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is always one that I recommend people to play if they want to have a bit of fun. And I think it offers a lot as well to players if they want to do a load of side quests as well, because the side quests aren't too linear. The side quests are pretty cool, and there's a lot of variation in them, and also it added multiplayer into the game. Not that I really cared too much, but Brotherhood I did play a lot of the multiplayer on, and I found it quite enjoyable at the time, obviously, and I remember playing it. It was Brotherhood is a really, really good game, so that's why it's number 4 on my list. Now we head down to the top 3, and at number 3, unexpectedly probably to a lot of you, is Assassin's Creed Rogue. Now, this game I put it above Brotherhood, and there's a few reasons why, okay? So it definitely improved on Assassin's Creed 4's mechanics, which were amazing. The gameplay of Assassin's Creed 4 was great, but then what they did do, which they didn't do in Assassin's Creed 4, was make it centered around the Assassins versus Templar story. So it wasn't centered around pirates, it wasn't centered around sea gameplay, it was centered around Assassins and Templars that happened to include all of the cool gameplay elements from Assassin's Creed 4. Now, this is really, really cool because I loved everything in AC4, and then it added the story layer onto the top, and what it also did was take us back to the days of the Ezio trilogy and stuff like that, by having a great story that they hadn't had in such a long time, and that is why I put it higher than Brotherhood, is because even though it's one of the newer games, even though they'd strayed away so far from the story, they managed to make Rogue relevant again, and make it a really good game. And honestly, it is a lot of fun, as well as the story being good, and that's why it's number 3 on my list, because Rogue is such a great game, and honestly, I enjoyed playing it, and I'd happily play it again. I still play it now. After the 24-hour live stream though, where we played Rogue the whole time, I haven't quite played it as much, just because it kind of took a lot out of me. But it is such a good game, and playing it for 24 hours wasn't an issue. Like, I didn't get bored. It was a fun game, and Rogue is a great game, and Shay is an amazing character. And honestly, I'd love to see another game, maybe including Shay. Or if they make another game, make it like they did with Rogue, because they did such a good job with that. The story was great, the gameplay was great, everything was really, really great. And it really took us back to the old days of Assassin's Creed for me, and made a lot of story elements relevant again that they talked about previously. And it was a really, really good game in my opinion. And now we have the top 2. So at number 2 on my list is Assassin's Creed Revelations. This game is my number 2 game of all the Assassin's Creeds. Revelations is such a great game. It took everything that was amazing in AC2 and Brotherhood and then slapped into a new setting with new gameplay elements, new characters, and made it feel like a new, revitalized game, but still made it feel like it was part of the same series. And you still had the modern day relating back to Brotherhood, AC2, AC1, by then including Altair as one of the main protagonists. So you had Desmond, Ezio, and Altair, the 3 main protagonists. You then had everything cleared up with Subject 16. They introduced everything with the first Civ. I mean, not introduced, but they kind of continued everything, and it felt so cool. Like, everything. I remember the ending. I remember it being crazy and insane, and everything was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And just Assassin's Creed Revelations, for me, it was one of the highlight points of the story of Assassin's Creed. I mean, there are some things they could have done better, like possibly the mission structure sometimes got a little bit boring. The den defense, a lot of people didn't like. However, I quite enjoyed that. I do like a good bit of tower defense, but Revelations overall was an absolutely fantastic game, and I don't think I would have changed anything about it. I absolutely loved every minute of it. I love playing it over and over and over again, because that game is actually so much fun, and it is one of the best Assassin's Creed games, even though a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people say Revelations was absolute shit, but to me, Revelations was one of the best Assassin's Creed games for so many reasons. The gameplay being one of the most high points, as well as the story and everything they took from all the other games and put it into one game and made it amazing. And Revelations for me is one of the best Assassin's Creed games ever made. And obviously at number 1 we have Assassin's Creed 2, which everyone that I have spoke to pretty much says that Assassin's Creed 2 is their favourite Assassin's Creed game ever, because it introduced us to Ezio Auditore. It took everything that was amazing from AC1 and made it a million times better. The story was insane, the story was great. They made the best game that I've ever played, which was Assassin's Creed 2. It was just fantastic. I remember when it came out, I remember when it got announced, I remember watching all the gameplay demos, I think this is insane. They've improved so much from Assassin's Creed 1. Look how realistic it is, look how cool it looks. And Assassin's Creed 2 is just, it's always gonna be for me the best Assassin's Creed game. You probably aren't ever gonna find me say there's a game that beats it, just because of the story and like the nostalgia of it as well, by having that, like, because I remember how good it was at the time. I don't think you can beat it with a newer game because of how good I remember it being and how good I still think it is now. Playing it just, it gives me shivers sometimes. It's such a good game. Everything they added into it was fantastic. Ezio was an amazing character. The story was great. Having all these side quests and an actually relevant story that you could actually see, and then still linking it to the previous game, and then giving us an amazing cliffhanger on the end with that thing with Juno. Like, it was so amazing, and I would not have changed anything about Assassin's Creed 2. It is honestly, for me, the perfect Assassin's Creed game, and they are never ever going to beat it with anything they can do in the future. It's such a good game. The story was perfect, the gameplay was perfect, the characters were perfect, the feel and atmosphere was perfect, the location was perfect. Assassin's Creed 2, for me, is the best Assassin's Creed game ever made. So I do hope you enjoyed that video, guys. If you did, be sure to smack that like button, because that'd be absolutely amazing. Comment down in the comment section below, let me know what you guys thought, and subscribe if you are new for more Assassin's Creed content in the future. Obviously, keeping you guys up to date on Unity and doing some Let's Plays and stuff like that you guys want me to do. So go and check out my channel, obviously you can do that. In the description, there are all the important links, my Facebook, my Twitter, all that cool stuff that you guys can go check out if you want to do that, because that'd be really, really cool, that'd be pretty cool. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!
The wolves kept tumbling down, raining fire from above. Great crowds charge over the hills, but the city's had enough. But if we turn and fight, does it almost feel like we will never fall? And if we unite, take this fight straight to the castle wall.